Hey there, gamers. Welcome back to Cryptic Gaming. I hope you've been having a wonderful week. So, obviously, we had the news about the faction wars, caught the live stream of the deck. We'll be covering some of that. But first and foremost, if you're having issues logging into the game today, go ahead and turn your crossplay off. That should resolve the issue. I did on my end, and I'm able to get in. I'm on Xbox, so it seems to work for me over here. I also tried on the PS5, is having some issues, turned off crossplay, and I can get in over there. So, seems to be some kind of communication thing. How long that's going to last, not entirely sure, but it seems to be helping. So, that helpful tip there for you. Now, obviously, we know the Faction Wars has been postponed. What we don't know is for how long. It sounds like they're going to be doing a lot of polishing. They had mentioned in the deck that they're going to go back to an older system that they had tested out previously that seemed like it had a lot of really good reviews on, which having been able to play that older system back in 2013 at a game expo, I think that's the best call from what I'd heard about some of the things that was coming out on that. So few questions were answered though. PvP will be in the Faction Wars. No, you do not have to play PvP to choose a faction. They haven't decided whether or not you have to choose a faction in game, but one thing that it is going to be part of the storyline from what it sounds like at some point. So it's up to you if you play through the storyline. Most people are just playing the game. They don't even bother with the storyline, so that's going to be totally up to you for what it sounds like, but you're not going to be forced to engage in PvP. So that's something that's really great. Now, it was also asked what we would be getting, and thankfully the whole community, when we was in there, this was one of the first questions I posed before it even started, and a lot of people jumped in on it and said, yeah, we need this answered first. And Alexi brought that up first thing, and some people are saying that it didn't get answered. It did. What are we getting in exchange of Faction Wars and the other key features that are being postponed? So key features will be things such as, yes, the Faction Wars system, yes, the hand-to-hand combat, that was going to be a new key feature, and then of course the takeover and defense system was going to be another key feature. Now, is that going to affect the reputation and alliance system? They did not say that, but we will be seeing a lot of things put on hold while they fix the faction system. They want to build it out first, because all of those other key features actually build on top of the foundation of the Faction War. So good that they're going to do it correctly. You know, obviously, like everybody else, a little bummed out, but hey, man, I want to show you some great things you can be working on here in the game as well. So I finished off another frigate, getting it upgraded the other day. So that's two. We've got a third one we've started, haven't finished yet. Kind of pulled off for the moment. What I am looking at doing is we're going to show you a great build that I'm using here, and I also want to encourage you to upgrade your ships. Now, what am I talking about upgrading ships? I'm referring to all of these ships that you have to pick up 8s. You see there's a lot of 14s. These just need ascended weapons placed on them, or fully ascended weapons, I should say, put on them. Now, currently, a lot of them have like ash breakers and things like that. A lot of ash breakers I've been dropping put on them. But my plan is to build out all 36 ships and have them completely upgraded. Now, I'm not going to do completely 40. I like to leave a little breathing room in case they introduce something new into the game. I want to leave a little bit of room for my new Hunter's Dhow, and then, of course, the Corvette when that comes out in Season 4. Definitely going to want 2 of those Corvettes, so at least 2. So I imagine some of these things are going to get replaced or removed out of my inventory here, but we'll just have to wait and see. But as you can see, been kind of coming through here. A lot of 13s. We got a lot of 12s coming up. A lot of these 11s can actually be brought up. As you can see, we're right about here is where we've gotten to our last 7 to 7 upgrade. So it looks like we've got 5, 10, 15, 17. We'll call that 22 ships that are fully upgraded. They just need to have those fully ascended weapons, so I'm going to keep building on that. I'm going to build a couple barks. I want some healing barks. The reason I'm doing this, by the way, is while we don't know what the Faction War is going to have, if they go with that 2013 Expo, the way that was, and man, I really hope they go with this, so I want to share this information with you. And the way that was is, while this area down here I had no experience playing, it's PvE. The area I did get to play was PvP at the Expo, and I was there for a good 12, 13 hours playing this thing. They let me sit on it because I was just infatuated with the game. And we were able to actually, you know, I say build our own fort. We were able to direct resources out of a bank, so like a community bank. So I guess we're going to have a way to when that faction system will be able to direct some of these resources that we can build here into a community bank. Now, is that going to be the DMC or the campaigning, or we're going to have our own in-game alliance is what it was then? I would hope to see that happen. I know they've talked about guilds and things in the past, so, and we would take, and the leader of our guild would use that to build up the cannons and the turrets and things like that of a megafort. And then they would take the ships that we would assign. How we can come in here, we can assign a ship to pickups. Well, we can assign ships, our own personal ships, to our base of operation, and the owner or the leader of that group could then assign it to waves in case your base got hit, your alliance center got hit. Now, don't know if they're going to bring that into the game again, but that is what it was in 2013. They dropped the hint that they're going back to some earlier testings of that, and that was the earlier testing that I myself got to play. Now, as far as what happened in some of the alpha and beta tests and things like that, I've kind of pulled away from a lot of that stuff. I like to kind of, hope that they're going to get us back on the right track here, and it sounds like they are. There was some issues that it sounded like most of the stuff was going to just be convoys that would be coming through. So we had seen like the Fangs of Far convoys, we had seen Campaigning Royale convoys and DMC convoys and Rimpa convoys in the game, and while those are great ways to get those faction points, we don't want that to be the only way to get a faction point. That would be so boring. We're already running those things, so don't just make it so the points paid towards something else. This was a really good move on their behalf to stop and reassess and kind of pick a new angle, because the faction system is supposed to build a foundation that is going to carry this game for years to come when this finally releases up here. So rather than see them rush it, I'm glad that they're going to take their time and get it right. Now, if they take their time and it comes out and it still sucks, then my apologies to everybody, but I got to believe they're going to try to do everybody right. They do have a new team of developers. I don't know if you've noticed that, guys. This year, they've got a new team. They've got a few faces that are familiar, but most of the guys are new. They've brought in some help to get them on the right track, I believe, and that's really one of the best things that they could do right now with the game. So that's going to be great. So what I'm doing, like I say, building up my fleets. If they end up putting a might system, for those who are unaware of that, they called it reputation. Now, there's different types of reputation systems in game, so I expect it's going to be one of the two or a combination of both, and we'll have to wait and see. Again, no official word. We asked them. They didn't even acknowledge the question, so we're probably onto something with it. But what that means is, with reputation or might, is depending upon the amount of ships that you have and the actual DPS values and the gear score values that these ships will be able to do, what levels they are and damage they can put out based off the weapons that you put on them, that could build up a might rank, which is in most games that I've seen nowadays. It has a leaderboard that shows who's the strongest players, so I would love to be able to compete upon that. So now's a great time for us to start building our fleets up on that. Gives you something to do, something to grind to. And a lot of you newer players that are just coming in, you really need to get you a fleet of ships to pick up your pieces of 8 ready. You're going to get tired of running around and picking up 8s all the time, and you may as well start grinding these things out this way. So as you can see, Helm Empire is completely done. Already picked up 8s with our ships today, and I've done many videos on that, so we're not going to go through all that kind of mess again. But the more ships you have that are going to be able to pick these up, the better you're going to be when those faction systems do start to release, I believe. So definitely make sure, understand, they went to this new helm for a reason. It's not to give you the ability to come in here and build planetary gear sets, wood pitch, cogwheels, and wood tar just to fill your warehouses up. Now, there's other items you could do in these. We're just throwing that out there. It's not just to fill your warehouse up. They've made this so that you can use that. It's going to be able to donate into that faction system. So something you need to be aware of that's going to be coming into the game at a later point. So the sooner you get that stuff situated, the better you're going to be. You've got time, and that's one of the great things about this game, having been kind of postponed on a few things. Now, my understanding is nothing is canceled. The roadmap ahead is going to get tweaked, and they will release that new card to us. So we will definitely be checking that card out when that comes out, and I'll be covering all the information that I can on it for you guys. And I appreciate everyone who watches the channel and supports it with likes and thumbs up and subscribes, man. That's always awesome. So now, promised you a build. So this is something I'm currently using. It looks like this thing has, man, I don't even know if I want to risk trying to go to tier 2. Let's see if it'll let us go to tier 2 here, guys. It looks like it threw me back in 1. Like I say, been having some issues trying to log in, but turning that crossplay off seemed to help. We're going to jump into tier 2 so we can show you this build proper. But yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they come up with this stuff. As far as the hand-to-hand combat system, there's still, in my opinion, now I'm sure that there's going to be dedicated areas of the map that's going to be possible. It's not going to be just going to Talak Panjar and you can start slaughtering people on the dock. I don't imagine that's going to happen. The reason I say I don't imagine that's going to happen is when you go onto the dock at Talak Panjar, if you hang too much to the left as you're first coming down the walkway, you hang on the side, or if you look too much to the right toward the end of the walkway on the dock, then you hang up on the side a little bit. The guy almost looks like he's staggered around because he's drunk. They need to fix a few areas like that before we can actually see some serious stuff happening. So, okay, let us make sure our ship is all set up. We are in our Paradox, looks like. I want to make sure our weaponry is right. Okay, so running Basilisk 3s, and this is a setting or a setup that my Discord leader had helped set up. I was running the Heaven Mandate originally, but I definitely am digging this build here pretty good. So here's what I ended up with, kind of going with. I've got the it automatically has a Raider perk, which is pretty sweet. You know, that builds that charge rate of vulnerability effect on her. Something about the Frigate, to me, you don't even have to have those types of weapon perks on here. This thing does crew attacks like crazy anyway, but it does help add that. So you could potentially use something if you wanted to add healing, like that scrapper station if you wanted. Has piercing too. I went ahead and threw an incendiary, 90% burning damage on her, or 9% burning damage added to it. Amplified burning and then long arm on there as well. And then Basilisk 3. Again, we have the Raider piercing perk, and we went with combustion, amplified piercing, and long arm on here. Now, I was hoping for, like, you know, amplified explosive or something, but it's been a really rough roll trying to get anything worthwhile here lately. So hopefully that's something that Ubisoft will get their Singapore division on to really work on. Because they're taking their time to roll out some new material. They said they're going to be working on some bugs and trying to fix some things and some quality of life items in here. Now, quality of life typically means that they go in and they start messing with currencies. I almost expect that they're going to come in and do another silver reset. The reason for that is there was another streamer who went out like he always does and puts out a freaking exploit, and everyone starts exploiting silver. That throws the game out of balance, and then they have to do a reset. So, you know, dude, if you watch these videos, you know who you are. Stop doing stuff like that. This will be the 3rd time we've had a reset in this game, so stop putting that stuff out. You're supposed to be a Ubisoft partner, man. Be better. Okay, so we went with the firepower perk, which is what I would prefer on this all the way around. Amplified piercing, that gave us extra piercing, and then that long arm as well. But like I say, you get what you get, and you got to stick with it sometimes. But we did get quite a few really nice items on this. Didn't have to roll anything out. We got 46 rolls. We could potentially go for some god rolls on it, but we might play around with it later. But for now, it seems to be working. So I went with the Nashker on the back. Still not sold on it. It is kind of nice to have that extra little repair thing on the back. It does pretty decent. 38, 86 on the damage output. You have that ghostly mending, burning 2, piercing 1. We added firepower, which boosts that. Then we have 2 god rolls on the lethal perk, which increases that weak point damage. Because it's a long gun, you're going to be aiming long and you're going to be aiming for weak spots. So we're going to see how this thing rolls out. Now, I did put the Roaring Meg on here, and it has, it's got a dire explosive and 2 siege on it. We may roll that off, but like I say, if we decide to go after fort, it's set up, ready to rock and roll on that thing. Then, of course, armor. I'm still playing around with armor types. So Silver Sentinel is pretty decent. Here in World Tier 2, we get a lot of just crazy output damage that does a lot of severe damage. So Silver Sentinel does help with some of that. In Tier 1, what I was using, because you have so much fire damage, and depending on what I go against, I will actually throw on this Hayden's Guard, though, if I'm going to get ships that have a lot of ablaze. And we're going to go ahead and put this on here and go hit us some bosses here. But this thing just does such an amazing job of negating the fire damage. And then if they do happen to catch you on fire whenever you brace, this cinder seal puts that fire out. It'll put that effect out. And that's even has to do with fire that comes from electricity. If you get hit by lightning, it'll put the fire out. It does not negate the electricity, though, so you're going to have to use a restorative kit to negate that electricity. Otherwise, you will just catch fire again once you stop bracing. So now you are going to eat through your brace crazy 30% while you use this thing in your bracing to get rid of fire, by the way. So make sure you got good food. All right, let's go take it out and we will see what we've got here. Now let's go ahead and throw it on something fun. Is this one here popped up yet? It is. So I won't shut up while we play this. So, while it does not take a ship out as quick as a torpedo, I will say I am digging the culverins on this thing. The reason for that is simple. You're in a pirate ship and you want to experience cannons. Now, I would love to be able to put long guns. I would love to be able to put like Nashkers on here, or even some Heaven's Mandates, some things like that. I would love to have them on here, mainly because it's a long gun. Who wouldn't want a long gun? What I'm hoping is that hopefully this faction system is going to bring us some new things for our ship where we can actually use mid-deck long guns. It makes no sense to me why we can't have a mid-deck long gun on this ship. It shows it at the cutscenes. That was one of the questions that I did ask during the live stream. Like I say, I was lucky to get two of the questions I posed asked, and to answer the question, guys, what are we getting in replacement of that? We're going to find out in the roadmap card for Season 2. It sounds like Season 2 is going to get bumped the next week to give them some time to work on a few things. And basically, we're looking at Dark Tide Lullabies coming September 2nd. They may rotate in some old fleets from what it sounds like, maybe some old events, but nothing like major type of content from what it's sounding like. They said they're going to look at some of the old events and things like that. So obviously there's a lot of new players that are looking for types of weapons and furnitures and things that only happened last year and haven't rotated in yet this year. So that's going to give you an opportunity, I believe, to be able to pick that stuff up. So definitely keep up the grind, guys. And for those of you who have been here, unless you've got 40 fully upgraded ships, can't speak today, then you're not done with the game yet. And that's just kind of where we're at, I believe. So It costs a lot of pieces. You see, I'm actually down like 7,000, but running these convoys here, like I just did, running these boss ships and in convoys and stuff, they give you pieces of 8, so it's not a real big issue. Now, furniture wise on this ship, what I'm currently running is the Trunnion furnace. This hits have a 25% chance to spread to nearby targets within 100 meters, dealing 25% of the original damage. Now, while these culverins hit harder than my Heaven's Mandates were, or even Inaga's Call were, it is nice to get those extra damage points from that. So I may go in and try and roll another set. I've rolled like 3 sets of these basilisks trying to get the things right, but I would love to have some explosive or some burning or something additional to it. So, but we could potentially go in and just roll a long arm, or not a long arm, a second storm perk, which would give us some electric damage on there, and that could probably work. But like I say, that long arm perk sitting far off does a really great job, especially if you can hit weak points. I got to get closer to the TV to even see them. I'm getting older, the eyes ain't quite what they used to be. So we also put on Mark of the Wolf, which is triggering a blaze on a target, increases the shell shock, but it increases the fire rate of explosive weapons by 20%, increasing damage to structures by 5%. So we need to make sure that we have our explosive weapon, one with an explosive perk, on the front there. So that's something we definitely want to make sure that we have on our any kind of fire rate for explosives is going to be great on that. So trying to have explosive perks, what is nice if you can roll them. If not, I may replace that out, because like I said, I've got one burning, I've got one explosive, I think. So, and one of them ended up with piercing, I believe. So, fuse fusing station decreases the reload time of your front and rear weapons, so that's a great one to have on here by 9%. And then, of course, that Ramrod Workshop decreasing reload time of broadside by 7%, increasing secondary damage by 7%. Culverin Grinder increasing the projectile speed of culverins by 15%. Then, of course, that culverin works, increasing secondary damage of culverins by 19%. But like I said, this Mark of the Wolf works with explosive weapons. So I do believe I am actually going to end up pulling this one off real quick. Let's find a nice little furniture here. I may end up putting a scrapper station on here just because it does so many heals, so many crew attacks. It would be nice to have that for heals, especially here in tier 2. So that's what I'm end up going with for my main piece primary furniture there. So again, that is the scrapper station for those who were wondering what I just said. So that's what we're going to go with. But this is what I'm using right now. Like I say, I've got my other fleet set up as far as my where are they at? They rotating around here somewhere. Yeah, so here's the Enigma. This is the other one that I use. I've been using a torpedo build with it. Something I'm kind of thinking about. Obviously, healer builds. Got a healer ship here. And then I've got quite a few barks that I've been bringing up. I've got a few ideas. So one of them is when those heliports come back, I want to have some battle barks with heliports. Rather than having to tie up a lot of my loadouts, my arsenal loadouts, I may as well build ships. The arsenal loadouts is for later. The ship builds for now. We'll go with that route. But I think I'm going to build some out when we get the heliports back in, get some with Nashkers. That new healing torpedo, the Hell's Gate Serpent, when it comes out, I believe I'm going to be using that as well on a bark build. So I'll be getting those out to you whenever that happens. But obviously just kind of waiting for all those weapons to come in. And rather than show you weapons that you don't have a chance of getting right now, we'll wait till they enter the game. Y'all have a wonderful day, and we'll hop off here.